It's a very fashion-conscious movie club because, as you can see from my guest, we're doing The Eyes of Laura Mars. It's a film that you've probably seen if you're watching this, and if you haven't, what are you doing? Go check it out. My guest, Greg Garry, creative director for fashion art. How else would you describe what you do, Greg? Because it's a very specific thing that ties you to this film.
Could you leave, please? You're right in my eye line. So I've worked in magazines for like 25 years as a creative director and photo editor, producing like celebrity and fashion shoots. And then now in my old age, I work for PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, producing photography for them for all their celebrity campaigns.
So a hippie. That's what you're saying. You sort of gone hippie. Yeah.
After shooting fur coats for years now, I'm trying to save the minks. It's a
I think that's
natural progression.
Life's about balance.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Lulu, as we mentioned earlier before we started taping, there is a woman in this film who's also in my favorite film. But this is your favorite film, so I think it's appropriate. Darlanne Fluegel, Lulu.
Darlanne Fluegel, and then Lisa Taylor, who was a big model in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. They're both amazing. They're Michelle and Lulu in the movie.
Beautiful couple. Sad the end that they
Double
came
funeral.
To. Yeah. But a beautiful funeral, a glamorous funeral.
Exactly.
Now, of course, some folks out there may not have seen the film, so here's a little capsule summary.
Do it.
The fabulous photographer Laura Mars, world-renowned at the top of her game and profession, who has a basically live-in agent, that's how popular she is experiencing a bunch of spells that she thinks are just the things that are inspiring her creative visions. However, it turns out that they are telekinetic visions from a killer, and the killer is starting to encroach on her circle of friends. The
Dropping
killer,
like flies.
Exactly. One by one, and then the suspicion is raised, who could this be? And we wonder throughout most of the film. Some people say that they guess accurately at the beginning, near the beginning of the movie. I don't buy that. I was always, or through the duration of the film, the first time I saw it, I was up until the end thinking, wait a second.
Same.
Right? Okay, good. So in the end, if you want the spoiler right away, I'm going to pause here. And if you want to skip ahead 30 seconds, the cop that's on the case, played by Tommy Lee Jones, is the killer.
Shock.
So this is a trope that has been used a lot in the last 20, 30 years. So some people might think it's hack or obvious, but I certainly don't.
I mean, I tried to find the original script called Just Eyes that
Same
John
here.
Carpenter wrote. It was John Carpenter wrote this movie in '77, and basically it gave him the money to go off and make Halloween. That was his next thing. So in the original script, apparently it's just a random person that nobody knows.
Right. And the whole fashion element was added by Irvin Kirshner.
Was it, though? I mean, if she was a photographer, I don't believe it.
Was she a photographer? That's the thing. I don't know.
What the hell would she be doing that? She saw all this shit.
Fair enough. This is the thing. We don't know.
Right.
I know someone who has a paper copy of it, so I'm going to have to inquire.
I mean, I read it a long time ago. I do. Hold on. My props.
Might you have anything related to the film?
I'm like a prop comedian. I'm like Carrot Top, but not gross. So this is the novelization. I love to collect like cheap novelizations of bad and good movies. It's pretty much the exact script, like pounded out with a couple little, ridiculous extra adjectives thrown in.
On a homophobic passage, I believe you were.
Yeah, like the Donald, the agent, or is he the agent?
Wait, is he gay?
Rene Auburjonois. I remember from Benson as a child, and then he was on Deep Space Nine, Star Trek. I think he thought he was in the Barbra Streisand role. He's like styled and looks like there's giant hair. He's got like the afro.
He's incredible in it. And
so this movie was developed by John Peters, who was Barbra Streisand's boyfriend and hairdresser. Became, because she was embarrassed to have, I guess, a boyfriend who was a hairdresser. She made him a film producer on A Star Is Born. And then after that, they developed this movie together. And the last minute, Barbra stepped down and said, I don't want to do this movie. It's too upsetting and gross.
Too kinky.
Right, like her hair.
Yes, exactly. You can only have one.
Can you imagine like Barbra Streisand playing a fashion photographer? It'd be a very different film.
A wildly different film.
Yeah.
I would love an alternate universe where both existed.
I know, that's what I always think. Is like I wish I could see that movie, but it'd be like hilarious. And then that passage in her autobiography last year would have been unbelievable.
It really would have. As it was, or as it is, the John Peters section is quite remarkable. And I think the move to a movie producer, his ambition knows no bounds. I mean, and his weaseliness.
From Barbara's Perm to Batman.
Yes. And then
produced Batman.
And then being president along with co-president with Peter Guber of Columbia Pictures.
Columbia. And then his last marriage was to Pamela Anderson.
Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that. You know, the accomplishments, they just never
exactly.
stop with John Peters.
Yeah.
And the money never stops either because he owns a piece of All Stars Born remakes, I believe.
How? There was
I don't know.
3
but
before?
well, the one's going forward at least. Although, I don't know. With him, he could have made a deal that allowed him to dip into those. But the recent Gaga one, he was never involved. And I think they actually made it very part of the law that he couldn't be on set. But he's the executive producer, or one of them.
That's good for him. All from like working at like a hair salon in Beverly Hills. Not too bad.
Exactly. Very upwardly mobile. It worked out. Might as well get this out of the way. The big song at the Columbus Circle photo shoot, "Burn" by Mikowski and Oosterveen. So I had to put this up here because when else am I going to use it? And it's
a good prop.
Thank you very much. I bought it with the excited hope that it would be kind of like Burn, which is basically not a song. It's kind of like, so we do this at the beginning of the song and then they never get to the rest of it. But it's great and you love it because of that scene.
Yeah.
When was the first time you saw this film?
I think I must have seen it like on cable in like the early 80s at some point. But my favorite memory of watching it is going to Film Forum in New York. And they had a really shitty, like old faded print that was like pink almost. It was like, so you barely see it. It was so faded. And that was really beautiful. And it was just filled with like all the fashion heads of New York. And we had the greatest night.
Really I can imagine. Yeah. Faded to pink is my least damaged print variety. But with that, I could see
I think it was left on someone's like dashboard or something. It was like you could barely see it. It was so faint and scratched, but it made it more beautiful even.
Yeah. Well, and also the setting, the context, and all that. And it kind of suits the color palette of the movie.
It does.
Which I'm obsessed with, as you maybe can tell from some of the pillows.
There's like so much beige and tan and brown. It's like
taupe.
Greige and taupe. And,
Greige. Okay, that's the one.
And then like I feel like the Kardashians saw this movie and said, I want all my houses to look like that. It's almost and like all the wall-to-wall carpeting, it's revolting. It's like oatmeal vomit all over the floor.
I wouldn't mind having that apartment though. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, the apartment's pretty great.
The symmetry.
It was a set, but the studio was in the old abandoned piers on Christopher Street, which were amazing.
Oh, wow.
And they tore those down like the early 90s. But
what about the photo lab set? Is that also the piers?
If it was not on location, then it was in studio somewhere, like in Queens or something.
Okay. At least the exteriors, I mean.
Right. I mean, it's like, that pier when she's like running, it's like, oh my God, it's still going? She's running down this pier for like 20 minutes. Like the longest.
Yeah.
Donald! Her scream, too, is very funny and very specific in this movie.
It is. In the car accident.
Exactly.
Because at this point now, she's been screaming, Lulu! Lulu! And then Donna!
Yeah. It's like the Faye Dunaway Scream Queen. It's like, we didn't know we wanted that from her, but we need it.
Yeah, now we want more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, also, we could have had that because of all the bollocking she's given crew and other cast members of other films.
The thing is, like, people give her a hard time, but, like, who is more fascinating to watch than her? You know what I mean? Like,
none more fascinating.
Beautiful and crazy. That's a great combo. Like,
absolutely.
We love it.
And a lot of criticism that she has gotten over the years for being a diva is really down to her being exacting.
Perfectionist.
Exactly.
And we appreciate that.
And also knowing where her light is, what's her best angle, just like Miss Streisand.
Or Dietrich. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was like a master of lighting and she had that angular face and she'd know what looked good on, you know? She wants to have the light hit her right.
And she apparently wanted the Morticia Addams light in a lot of this this as well.
Oh, yeah, because there's like slivers over her eyes. Like,
they're like little window pane.
It must have been like a week of just filming her eyes bugging out. Like, there's so many close-ups of her eyes bugging out.
Okay, Tommy, you want to come in? Tommy? Now, we talk about diva behavior on a set, and there's a couple things here that I found of Irvin Kirshner.
There was a lot of distrust on the set, before the set, just in talking to the people. A lot of it was producer-oriented. Faye wanted to quit. Tommy Lee was going through a divorce, going through hell. I figure the rehearsal is very, very necessary here because I've got to get them working together in the same film. Because when we started, they were all working in different films. Faye was indifferent, but she would rehearse. She was okay. Tommy Lee's mind was elsewhere. Brad Dourif was like a young puppy, eager, which jarred the two big stars a little. I began to realize that Tommy Lee and Faye didn't like each other. That was the most important part of the rehearsal. They didn't like each other. Why? I don't know. I had to make them fall in love. And that was what everything was moving towards, that love affair. And it was difficult. At one point, Tommy Lee picked up a chair and hurled it right across the room against the wall, which broke everybody up, and he was laughing, and he wanted to get it out, and I understood that.
Isn't that in the movie?
That's exactly. He wanted to get it out. I understood that. And everyone just fell about the place laughing. That Tommy Lee Jones, he is a card. And like you said, yes, that must have been where they got the idea for the end, because in another moment from that interview, which is available in the DGA archive, he's interviewed by Jeremy Kagan, director of The Journey of Natty Gann and many other films. Yeah. He mentions that the script had no end. They didn't have the end to it. So they didn't know.
I mean, there still isn't really much of it.
No, that's true. That's true.
It just sort of ends.
Yeah, it just sort of ends. But there's that great monologue, which Tommy Lee Jones wrote.
Right. Oh, about being like multiple personalities and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Growing up with the hooker mom and the father killing.
The Eyes of Laura Mars. You had a good secret. You kept that secret. And then when you revealed it, it was a wonderful scene in which you finally confess to her and tell her the truth. It's a very frightening scene. And you do a 180-degree turn on her. I have heard that you...
It's a literal 180-degree turn.
Literal.
Yeah, because the film is projected in reverse.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a multiple personality. So...
they flipped it?
They flipped it, yeah. So you're looking at it right to left. When the evil guy comes out.
Oh, my God.
The bad personality.
But I've also heard that you wrote that whole long confession. Did you?
Yes, I did. Well, now the truth can be told. But I kind of had to write it. Well, what I did, I had a guy that I played football with in prep school was a shrink here in New York City at the time. And I said, well, we're in trouble here with this script, and I'm interested in multiple personalities. What can you tell me about it? And he gave me a reading list. I read the book. We walked around the park, talked about what makes people's personalities split. And so I said, okay, well, thanks. And then I went to Kirshner. I said, how long does this speech need to be? He said, 3/4 of a page. And a couple of days later, I had written something that was appropriate to the script as it had been done up to that point and was scientifically correct. And so I went to Kirshner's apartment in the dead of night and said, here, you wrote this, didn't you? And he said, yes, I did. And I said, well, excuse me. And off I went.
What do you think of the reveal?
I mean, I like it better than if it was just some random person like in the original script. Like that would have been kind of stupid and pointless.
Yeah,
So-
although someone at some convention wrote that they talked to John Carpenter, and since they also weren't able to find a copy of that script, asked him who the original villain was, the killer, and he
And he
said
said it was the cop.
the cop. Yes. See that I enjoy
Who can we
this.
believe? I choose to believe John Carpenter.
I do too. I always choose to believe him. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't seem like he
love
can't
him.
be bothered to lie.
Irvin Kirshner is an interesting character. Like his career is so all over the place.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
So he does this movie, but before this, he did that movie Up the Sandbox with Barbra, which I like. Everyone hates it, but it's weird.
I have a feeling I'll like it.
It's a weird movie about like a failed marriage and like she doesn't like her husband and her life. And then the movie after this is Empire Strikes Back, which is a completely different film. And then he goes on to do like a bunch of sequels, like he did RoboCop 2.
I'm trying to remember if Nancy Allen, in an interview that I heard, talked about how bad the experience was on
With him?
2, or if it was 3. I can't
I
remember.
don't know. I mean, those shoots were hard, I heard. Like even the first one was not an easy movie to make.
Exactly. And the second one, when you look at the production history on Wikipedia, it's page after page after page before it even gets to shooting.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I think it must have been the third one because she said that one was no fun. She had liked the previous 2 directors. And that makes sense because I was thinking, really? Could it have been him? Because
Enough of
Streisand
the
loved
sequels.
him. Yeah, no, I know. He did something else after
Streisand
that, too.
loved him, but then I heard that she didn't want to do The Eyes of Laura Mars, and she especially said, I don't want to do another movie with Irvin.
Really?
It's Irvin.
Okay, so yeah,
Irvin Kirshner, not
Irvin Kirshner. Yeah, that's interesting. Also, he
So
says
who knows? That could just all be, nonsense too. Who
apocryphal
knows?
nonsense.
Exactly.
Yeah, But because he was the first one to put her on the dolly and show her how the shot was going to go and all of that stuff.
And then she was like, out of my way, I can do this.
and also he set the tone with her because he said, no, Barbara, don't do that. Or like, he basically shut her down when she was kind of going against him in the first read through for Up the Sandbox. And she got up and left. And everyone was saying, you got to call her. You got to call her. And he said, no, I don't. She's either going to be there tomorrow or she's not.
I mean, that's why I loved her book, and her book on tape especially, like her reading her book when she's talking about making her first movie, and she's like telling everyone, like she's telling like the cameraman and like William Wyler, right. Like that amateur William Wyler telling them what to do. I'm like, I love you.
Yeah, me too.
She's like 20 years old telling all these old men their jobs. I was like, that's my girl.
I love that.
Yeah.
That audiobook is maybe the best.
It's better than any movie that came out last year.
You're right.
It is.
You're right. And it's going to dwarf the documentary. There's no way the documentary is going to be as good.
I mean, because it's not going to be 19 hours long.
44 hours.
44 hours. Oh, God, that was way off. Yeah, it was amazing. It was not a boring moment in that.
No. Yeah. And also, every time she talked about the coffee ice cream, I couldn't get enough of it. McConnell's. McConnell's. A Brazilian coffee.
Yeah.
They have the regular coffee everywhere you go, but not. And then they discontinued it right before the book came.
Brazilian coffee has cocaine in it as well.
That's what the Brazilian is. That's why her and James Brolin would drive 3 hours. We'd find any excuse. Anyway, we don't want to get off on that because we'll just never stop.
We can talk about Barbara all day.
Of course, exactly. But now we're talking about Faye all day.
Right.
So you have some notes.
This movie, they call it the first American Giallo.
I have to agree. Also in Video Archives, they did a terrific American Giallo episode with this and Dress to Kill.
Right. They call it the Disco Giallo.
I love that.
I would like to say it's almost like the cocaine Giallo. And it's like the first fashion slasher. I love fashion horror movies. There's very few of them, and there's they're fun to watch. Like Blood and Black Lace is this beautiful Mario Bava movie from the 60s. The color, the lighting, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, it goes on to like it's not really a horror movie, but Lipstick. Remember Lipstick with Margot Hemingway?
No. That is a horror movie.
That's a fashion horror movie.
That is absolutely a horror movie.
Mahogany, a little bit.
Yes. Well, the Anthony Perkins of it all.
Exactly.
For sure.
And you mentioned Dress to Kill. It's sort of that way.
Also, in terms of women's autonomy, Mahogany is also a horror movie.
Exactly. Death Becomes Her is pretty much a fashion horror movie.
Sure.
Neon Demon, which was really great.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then recently, Last Night in Soho, I thought was a great
And then There's Nothing
movie.
Underneath that I think you'll enjoy.
I haven't seen that yet.
When I was watching it, I must have averted my eyes during the opening credits. And some of the score, I'm going, this is direct lifts from Body Double. Well, it turns out Pino Donaggio did the score, and it was about a year later after Body Double. And
he must have put it in a licensing company because the Carrie score shows up in all these different movies as well. I'm just like, that's Carrie. I know the Carrie by heart.
Yeah, like Ennio Morricone, every soundtrack is different. There might be some little a Barry Gibb trick where you're like, oh, he does that in everything.
Right.
But they're all different. Pino, I guess.
He just did a couple things to say, you can just buy it half off.
It's good enough. Listen to how
good that is. Come to my garage sale.
Yeah. So that one's really good. There's a great models taking cococaine scene and Nothing Underneath. There's also this huge fashion show.
That is factual. That's how we used to do it.
I was going to ask, you've been to shoots. You've seen it. You've boots on the ground. Is that actually true?
Oh, God. I mean, the way we used to behave back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
We would rent out a studio for an entire weekend. We would just fill it with clothes and food that nobody ate. The drug dealer would come and just have piles everywhere. And we would just shoot for an entire weekend and just have fun and drink champagne and stuff. Those are the old days. Now, we just want to go and get things done and go home to be in time to watch Jeopardy.
Sure.
It's not like that anymore. And we don't have the budget anymore. We don't have
true.
We used to write off drugs somehow. We would make a fake receipt,
What would be the typical bullshit title for that line item?
Like cigarettes, champagne, taxi.
Oh, of course, taxis. You need that. They can't be going on the subway.
I worked for a big publisher who shall remain nameless, and when we used to do you go out and you'd just be partying all night, but then you'd be like, ugh, I got to make expenses. You'd be like, dinner with Madonna. And they'd be like, oh, fabulous. I remember this.
That's so great.
Madonna.
We're so excited about that. Yeah, exactly. But
they're happy. They're so happy for me.
Exactly. Can't prove it. Oh, she didn't want to take photos.
Well, we didn't have phone cameras then, thank God.
When even if you did, we had to be discreet. You know what I mean? I take my camera out. She's gonna. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, but of course you abstained. I understand.
I mean, I'm a saint. I was a good little Catholic altar boy. Never touched anything.
No, you were
never had a drop of alcohol.
No, never.
Yeah,
never.
It's all, I prayed for all of them.
You wanted to make you wanted to make sure everyone got in the car with Tommy got a safe delivery home.
Exactly.
Mm.
And we have to realize like hair is a big thing in this movie, right? So produced by a hairdresser. And there's a lot of fur coats, disgusting, hideous. Like fur coats are just ugly, especially these giant ones they wore then.
Yeah.
And then in the very famous fashion shoot scene in Columbus Circle in New York, where they have the burning cars and the girls are pulling each other, the hair being done is by John Sahag, who was a big hairdresser in the 80s. Even in my time, he was a big hairdresser. He created like the pixie cut for Demi Moore for Ghost.
Yeah.
He invented the dry cut, which is rather than having wet hair from the getting your hair washed, you cut someone's hair dry so you know what it looks like when they get
arrested.
When it's all done,
Yeah, exactly.
But then like I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, he's this great hairdresser because there's some girl who has like a Dorothy Hamill like bowl cut, with a little tiny ponytail on the top of her head, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is that? It looks like a Yorkie, right? It's like that is not a haircut any woman would ever want in real life,
right?
But she just looks like a Yorkie, like flashing her lingerie.
That's so good. Yeah, all the different looks. There'll be one you go, wait, hang on a second, and then you're on to the next.
Does that also look good?
Yeah, what, is that supposed to? And then on to the next.
Fashion changes, I guess. Yeah.
So of course it's Lulu and Lisa who are grappling.
Lisa is playing Michelle.
Well, forgive me. I mix and match the.
Lulu is Darlanne, and then
Darlanne and Lisa.
Lisa is Michelle.
When they're grappling at the Columbus Circle photo shoot,
exactly.
She's pulling the hair a little too tighter than she should.
Yeah.
And of course, we find out later they're lovers, so maybe there's a spat going on that morning. Because also, Rene, aka Donald Phelps, who can do a mean Lloyd Bridges. He promises them coffee, and then he's like, forget it. So I mean, no wonder they were on edge.
I mean, they didn't need anything else.
I think, they were smiling.
Lisa Taylor.
Yes.
She was a huge model when I was a little kid in the 70s and in the 80s. And she was shot a lot by Chris von Wangenheim. And Chris von Wangenheim is basically the photographer they're critiquing in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Because he had like really sexy and violent, like really violent images. So here's a famous photograph he did of Lisa. The whole shoot is her being like eaten by a Doberman. My friends Mauricio and Roger Padilla did this book. It's really beautiful. It came out from Rizzoli. But like you look through it, and I can't really show you much because YouTube won't let you see a lot of this stuff. But
sure.
It's pretty damn violent. Like I think this is Lisa again. I can't tell. All models kind of look the same in the 70s. And
wow.
It's pretty gory, right? Like that was in vogue.
It really was, yeah. Now see, I've never seen the pictures that these are based on, like this whole mode is based on. And all I knew was that Helmut Newton was commissioned to do the
Helmut
photos.
had a lot of things, but the women were usually empowered in Helmut's pictures.
That's the thing. Like I hadn't really seen that in his other work that I know. I'm not exactly a scholar of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought
they were empowered, but like this guy, Chris, and then there was also a French guy named Guy Bourdin. There was
that's
a lot
the
of like bloody women, like, dead women. But Helmut took it and made it more like empowered, like the woman was like the Amazon squishing the man, and that's more fun.
Sure.
And now I think Ellen Van Unworth, who I've worked with a lot, she is probably carrying the torch of this style now, but the women are always in power. They're not the victim. My favorite bit about, so we're talking about hair. So John Sahag, they're shooting in Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
And Laura Mars has the vision of her friend Doris getting killed.
Yes.
So she's freaking out. She stops. And then she runs downtown. It's a very long way, but it takes her like 1 minute to get there. And then
those legs, you see those legs on display.
She does have good stems.
Powerful. Yeah.
So everyone from the photo shoot gets brought into jail, and they're all like suspects at this point.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, there's a scene where I think it's Lulu is sitting and John Sahag, the hairdresser, is sitting there doing her hair in the jail.
Yes,
he's like teasing her hair in jail. I'm like, all right, honey, the shoot's over. Calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a choice. I love it.
It's really good. And I remember
funny.
the first time I saw this, I didn't know anything about John Sahag, but I remember seeing the authenticity that was on display. And I'm like, he's a real guy.
Yeah.
So he's a real guy. And though I've not been at one of those shoots, especially at the time I saw it, I thought, this is exactly what it's like.
Anyone who sees the movie says it's exactly what a big photographer fashion photo shoot is like,
Yeah.
Like Quentin Tarantino says it. He said it's just like a David LaChapelle shoot.
Oh, so did you hear the Video Archives episode?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's great, because I was thinking, you would love that. But I figured I'll recommend it after we tape.
I mean, he's a very passionate lover of movies, so it's fun to hear his take on things sometimes.
Oh, I mean, I kind of enjoy the show. I don't know if you... Huge fan. Love you, Video Archives, Scala. And Gula's been on a few movie clubs. She's on the upcoming To Live and Die in L.A.
Oh, nice.
And all that jazz.
Amazing.
I like the cheerful films, like the up numbers.
Right.
I think I've seen this about 5-6 times, but clearly you have outpaced me in that, because this film is not only just a wonderful film that's full of all this delight, it's the film that puts you on your path.
I mean, I kind of got into the business by accident. I started out in like film and TV production. That's what I studied. And then I worked at Sesame Street. It was my first job.
Oh, wow.
And then I did a bunch of MTV and VH1, doing like different things for them. And then I did like maybe 10 movies in New York in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a awful, working on the street in the freezing cold, walking through the snow and ice, making a movie that you're getting paid 50 cents for.
Yeah, you're like, where's Rene Auburjonois?
Exactly. So then I met fashion people, and from that,
I
I was able to work for like a top makeup artist in the world, big fashion designer. I modeled for like 30 seconds, and I had to leave that. But then I met magazine
legendary
people.
30 seconds, by the way.
Exactly.
Yes.
And, I did not too bad for 30 seconds. And then I started working for magazines from all that. So I met magazine people from that, and I stumbled into magazines. But, I always feel, and this movie is probably to blame for it, I want to make every shoot feel like a party. I want the music to be good. I want everyone to have fun. I don't want anyone to have an unpleasant experience. But nowadays is a very different world. Like, it used to be more the photographer and creative people were in charge. Now it's like the publicists are in charge a lot of the times.
Sure.
So it's different times now. It's more conservative. People are afraid to be offensive and look like a crazy person, so that everyone behaves really well. Watch what they say and do. But
well, we have the legacy acts. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
It's okay.
The legacy acts like Naomi Campbell doing inappropriate behavior, defrauding a charity.
She's the greatest model of all time. There's no one better than Naomi Campbell.
And I mean, she's the standard bearer of bad behavior.
She's a Gemini like me.
So we should say that, look into you, but not too deeply, because we might get disturbed.
No, yeah, I could never say anything bad about Naomi. I know there's lots of stuff out there, but I
marveled at the story. That's the last thing I would have expected. Some kind of incident, a car accident, a drug charge. Sure, but charging off-charging your cigarettes and other things to the charity is bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, brava. Forgive me.
I mean,
my misapprehension of your career, I think, is because we're still getting to know each other. Right. We met at a party for John and John Grant folks coming up again on the show. Friend of the show.
Name dropper.
Big name dropper. Name dropper. I'll just bleep it. And that way, John brought us together.
Yes.
That's what we'll say.
Yes.
And we instantly started talking about Faye Dunaway, because you put on hold watching the Faye Dunaway documentary to come out for your friends and show support.
I came out to a barbecue the night that the Faye Dunaway documentary was, and I was like looking at my watch, like, all right, let's wrap it up, everyone.
And then we just started talking about Faye. And of course, this came up almost immediately. And then you said, oh, my Instagram handle is Eyes of Greg Garry. And that's why I conflated that with the career and thought, oh, okay, that's...
You thought I had the exact career path, that I was a psychic photographer witnessing murders.
Well,
I have witnessed murders, but I wasn't a psychic.
You're like, this would be better if I could see this through your eyes. Could we?
I want to see through Faye's eyes. I want to see what she's doing right now.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be amazing? I'd probably be scared.
Yeah. Oh no, it'd be scarier than the murders.
Exactly.
I think.
It'd be like, oh shit.
Oh my God. Well, I'm really yelling at them, and that would be a great, either being John Malkovich crossed with a VR experience.
Right.
I'm not that big into VR. I would be there every day.
I would, if there's a video game or something, I'd play it too.
Yeah, definitely like The Sims.
And
right?
this title also became like an inspiration because the World of Wonder guys did a documentary about Tammy Faye, The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Indeed. And there's a French Eurodisco song that samples Donald's dialogue.
For real?
Yeah, wait, I must have it here.
There's a guy in the movie for 30 seconds at the second big photo shoot at her studio named Sterling St. Jacques, and he was a model and a dancer, and he became an Italo disco singer. He left America.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to hear that.
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it anywhere.
Okay.
But he's the beautiful black guy who starts dancing at the photo shoot at the very beginning, like that.
Yeah.
That's Sterling St. Jacques.
Now, we have a listener comment from Noah. The filmmaker behind Fantasy A gets a mattress. Congratulations on all the accolades that film is getting and will continue to get. And I think we already answered it, so forgive me, Noah, for not addressing this earlier or saving it till now, whichever one you want. Noah wanted to know if we found the twist satisfying. I know we kind of addressed it, but was it satisfying?
It feels a little like out of nowhere, and it's not very well explained, but a lot of things are not well explained in this movie. Like, why does she have this psychic ability? It's like,
Mhm.
but like, if there was a little bit more explication and like reason for everything, it might be a little more satisfying to people. But I like it. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's pretty and the music's good. And you know what? That's all I fucking need.
Well, yeah, and also you're caught up in the suspense. I
Right.
mean,
It's
first off-
suspenseful, but I'm caught up in the fashion and the beauty and in Faye Dunaway's face and the music. It's like it's an amazing experience to watch it.
It's a lovely souffle
Right.
of
But
fabulous flavors.
in the documentary on the Blu-ray, Faye is in this documentary Visions, and she says the reason why she's like, I don't really know why, but perhaps the reason why she has these psychic visions is, as a photographer, you're dulling most of your senses down to just the eye hole.
Sure.
And you're laser focusing your eye. So maybe when you do that and you're dulling your other senses, maybe another sense pops up.
Mhm.
And I'm like, sure.
Why not? And also, why do they have that psychic connection? Well, it's kind of explained
exactly.
in a way
Some
during
random
the
cop.
yeah, but the romantic relationship, when they have that dialogue about when you find your person or the person that's just like you, I can't remember the specific dialogue, you recognize them.
Right. Well, one of my favorite comments that Irvin Kirshner does in the commentary is after the double funeral of Michelle and Lulu. He's like, I figured after the funeral scene that Faye should make love with Tommy because people tend to get romantic after a funeral. I was like, what? Like, what the hell are you into?
Well,
So
I've heard about that before, and that's why that scene in High Fidelity is in there.
Yeah.
They want some kind of comfort on the other direction.
So they filmed like the funeral, and then they filmed the love scene, and then they felt like there wasn't enough of a transition.
I'd
so
say.
he brought them out into Central Park, walking through the woods. It looks like it's the Rambles, the famous
It does.
the famous
yeah.
spot in Central Park where gay men go to get acquainted.
Yes,
And-
it's a meetup spot. It's as seen in Cruising.
Exactly. You might walk past Al Pacino in the woods. But they improvised that entire thing. Like, it wasn't scripted. It wasn't,
Wow.
mapped out. And they're just doing it with a handheld camera. And to me, that is the most demented scene in the whole movie. They both are just saying their own dialogue, nothing to do with each other. And I feel like they must have done a nice little bump right before they filmed it.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if Tommy Lee was doing bumps. That might have maybe helped. Who knows? He's a legendarily cantankerous, difficult person to work with.
He was Al Gore's college roommate.
On the set of Batman and Robin.
Right.
Hated Jim Carrey so much, and actually said to him, "I hate you." I'm going to find the quote is here in the notes, but I'll find it here. Please, but please continue, and I will dredge up some nasty things about Tommy Lee Jones.
What other stuff did I think about?
By the way, I have to commend you for preparing so thoroughly for this. movie club.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm, I'll just go blank. I'll be Cindy Brady. When the red light comes on, I'm like, what?
It's okay if there's a pause too. I'll just
You
I'll
can
nip
cut
that
it
out.
out.
Yeah, exactly. It's in my note, not the copy of. That's right.
I started thinking about fashion horror movies, and then I thought about The Wizard of Oz is sort of a fashion horror movie. It's all based on shoes, and then I thought The Red Shoes is a fashion horror movie.
Yeah.
I was really going down like all different avenues there. And there was an interesting one recently called In Fabric. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
A
I want to
British
see
one.
that. I
It's
heard
funny.
it's really good.
Yeah. About a haunted dress.
Now I haven't seen Phantom Thread. What do you think of that?
I have never made it through the whole thing.
a
I have friends that say it's the greatest movie ever made, and I've tried it a few times.
a ringing endorsement. Then is what.
I mean, I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
I just have to make a pot of coffee before I watch
sure,
it.
understandable. Yeah, because it's not fashion fuel.
I mean, it's about the craft of it. I mean, I did appreciate how the in depth it was about the making of the clothes and
Yeah.
the craft of it. That was interesting. But they didn't have a disco soundtrack and Faye Dunaway in it.
And the songs, of course, "Let's All Chant" by Michael Zager Band, "Native New Yorker" by Odyssey.
That's my theme song.
There you go. There you go. How long have you been out of New York?
Too long. 6 years. We moved out here
Okay.
6 years ago for a magazine. And, I mean, I miss home, but it's so expensive now. I'm just like, I don't know if I can ever afford to live there.
Oh, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
Not about you specifically. No
Just about me.
rumors. Not
They don't-
those rumors.
They don't want me back. I'm
No-
banned.
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah, it was about you. I heard.
Yeah.
Sorry. But at least you know now. So as a New Yorker, Could you explain to those listening and watching how difficult it might be to have Columbus Circle shut down for 2 full days?
I mean, back then, what I love about this movie is New York is so full of garbage in this movie. It's like filthy dirty,
Yes.
right? Like every part of it. Like they're in the Upper East Side, filthy. Lower East Side, filthy. So just filth everywhere. And Columbus Circle used to not be that great of a neighborhood. It was like there wasn't anything there. Now there's like a giant shopping mall and a condo building and Time Warner Center, all that stuff. None of that shit was there in the 70s. You know, most of the city was like completely bankrupt. And, you know, when I was a kid, I would walk around, there'd be like garbage cans on fire everywhere and like rubble, like it was a war, as if there was a blitz and we all got bombed. Like buildings just torn down. So, and then in Times Square, you know, it was a special place.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it was, you know, it was filthy dirty. So you could do a lot more back in the old days. That's how all these 70s movies were set in New York, right? Like Dog Day Afternoon and Taxi Driver. You were able to do these things. But now it's like you have to get 1 million permits and pay all the stuff. And to shut down a neighborhood, you'd have to pay millions and millions of dollars. And this movie just didn't have that.
No.
I think it was $8 million this movie cost.
Yeah.
And then it grossed $20 million, which is not that much. But I mean, it made back then they were happy if they made back their budget, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I kept looking to see if I could find what Faye got paid.
That would be good to know because this was her first film after Network, right?
It was. And, you know, a lot of times the movie that someone makes right after they win an Oscar ain't that good.
It's a tradition.
The Oscar curse.
Yeah.
You know?
Cuba Gooding Jr. might be the best example
Halle
of that.
Berry and Catwoman.
Oh, wow. Okay. At least that's a spectacular disaster.
Right.
Whereas
Well, she's
Boat
great.
Trip
This
is just
terribly
garbage.
directed.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, Radio is terrible as well. So I mean, he just kept on that trajectory.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the Oscar curse thing. But also, I heard rumors that they were trying to get Jane Fonda for it, and she asked for too much money.
For this.
For Eyes of Laura Mars.
Wow.
She was like, the script is ridiculous. And
that's right. Yes.
She wanted a lot more money.
I'm pretty sure. Wait, no, am I thinking? I'm mixing that up with Paul Mazursky and Unmarried Woman. So forgive me. She rejected that as well.
I love a bit of Jill Clayburgh.
Yeah, she's great.
Underrated.
She's fantastic. Mazursky movies are good too. Willie and Phil really like that one.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. The Tempest, the
one with Cassavetes and Susan Sarandon. And
and Jenna Rollins and Raul Julia.
Yep. It's a very interesting one.
Raul Julia is not so good in that one. I don't like him in that film, but I love him in this film.
Yeah. He's in it for like 1 second. He's like, I have a day off. I'll do it.
But he's great. And he also, to me, seemed like a credible suspect at the beginning. And I never felt that Tommy the driver was a suspect or would be possibly the killer ever throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, Raul Julia would have been probably a better actual killer because he actually knows her.
Yeah, knows her. And then that angry fight they have is really grim.
I mean, I think they probably had a lot of rough sex, it looked like, you know.
And that's why she pours him that glass of perfume. That's what it looks like. Whatever she pours him, it looks like perfume.
They always use like for liquor and like, you know, it's always like iced tea or apple juice or fruit punch. I'm like, that's obviously not wine.
No, exactly. It ain't whiskey for sure.
Whiskey don't have bubbles in it.
I was watching the making of the Huey Lewis and the News Stuck on You video, and the documentary was done by Les Blank.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And so anyone who wants to see that and currently has Criterion Channel,
I do love my Criterion Channel, which currently The Eyes of Laura Mars is playing in their photographer's gaze portfolio.
Exactly. And what an incredible array of stuff. They also have the Giallo section too. So very impressive.
So
it's the best streamer out there because you can watch
it's the only
World
one worth
Cinema.
it, really.
Yeah, it's true. Whole bunch of Cassavetes, World Cinema, The Eyes of Laura Mars, and Les Blank.
And Showgirls was on it recently. Like they run the gamut.
Can't Stop the Music was there for a while too.
Oh, well.
I imagine like a classicist being
Nancy Walker's greatest and only directorial effort.
Her finest statement. Yeah. I bumped into literally Paul Thomas Anderson in front of the screening of Can't Stop the Music. And I was all confused. I thought he was in line and I'm like, oh no, he's shooting a video. He was shooting that Haim video that's set at New Beverly.
Yeah, but he's buddies with them.
Yeah, it was interesting confluence of factors there. So Tommy Lee Jones was in the film with Jim Carrey, and as Carrey tells it, the animosity was there from the get-go, but only revealed when they met during the filming at a restaurant one night. The maitre d' said, "Oh, I hear you're working with Tommy Lee Jones. He's over in the corner having dinner." He went over and said, "Hey, Tommy, how you doing?" And the blood just drained from his face. He got up and was shaking.
What?
Yeah, and then he went to hug me, Carrey says, and he said, "I hate you. I really don't like you." And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" And pulled up a chair, which probably wasn't smart, but I love that because I'm sure Tommy Lee Jones is used
Tell me all about why you hate me.
Golly, Tommy.
That's fascinating. Enough about me. What do you think about me?
Yeah, what do you think? I also love that he managed to irritate him even more by pulling up a chair. And he said, I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Oh,
Which
that's something else. I like that.
and Carrie surmises that he was the star and that was the problem.
Yeah, but also like Jim's desperate for a laugh act can get old for people, I think.
Well, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of his.
I mean, I like the Truman Show.
He's great in that. He's great in Man on the Moon. But then when you see the Man on the Moon documentary, you think this is a hideous way to behave.
Yeah.
Hideous.
Yeah.
You're following your sort of meditative, bizarro method at the expense of everyone else's sanity.
Exactly.
So bravo. The little bit about Tommy Lee having a similar moment like that with Brad Dourif, but not being nasty to Brad.
We're in a tenement in New York City. So I had to set up the camera in the corner. We had to reverse the viewfinder and look the other way to shoot. And it couldn't move the camera. I mean, literally the corner. We needed every ounce we could get. It wasn't working. The lines that Tommy Lee had just sort of laid there. They didn't move the plot forward. They didn't reveal anything about his character. And Brad's lines seemed to work. Partly, he made them work. The lines that Tommy Lee had just sort of laid there. They didn't move the plot forward. They didn't reveal anything about his character. And Brad's lines seemed to work. Partly, he made them work. And I knew I was going to have a problem. And so I said, Tommy Lee, tell you what, why don't you sit right there in the corner near the lamp? Don't say anything except this one line. And just watch. Watch, Brad. I'll keep cutting to you, and that'll be your lines. Now, there is such a thing as jealousy with performance. There is such a thing as one actor feeling that another one is stealing a scene. And that was happening. Brad was fantastic. His agitation, his body language, what he was doing with the line. He wasn't depending on the lines. And here was Tommy Lee watching him. Okay, we did the major take. I said, cut. That was beautiful, Brad. That was wonderful, wonderful. Now, let's continue. Let's now focus on Tommy Lee's. Listen, I got an idea. I really got a good idea. Why don't you put a gun underneath a pillow? This is his flat. We didn't find it. It slipped under the pillow, a gun. Instead of just running out with a knife, he pulls it out and shoots me. And I die right there in the chair, and you don't have to put up with me for the rest of the film. Now the crew stops dead. Of course, they think it's a big joke. And I said, yeah, that's a way to do the story. Unfortunately, I need you for the whole film because you are the film, Tommy. You know that. He says, no, I'm being serious. I think you should put a gun there. You should pull it out, shoot me, run out, continue the picture. I'll go home. You don't need me anymore. And it'll be a better picture. And he's sitting there looking at me with these steely blue eyes. I said, well, everybody, take a break, coffee break, okay? They all left. They slunk out. I could see they were very upset. They didn't know what was going to happen. And he gets up. He says, you know, I'm serious. And he walks out, and he goes to his trailer. So after about 10 minutes, I gave him about 10 minutes to calm down in his trailer. I knocked on the door, and I said, can I come in? Yeah, sure. I go in. I sit down across with him, and I start to have a little talk. And the talk was a very gentle one. Tommy, look, I know you're upset about something. I don't think it's the film. I know what you're going through. Let's finish this damn thing. I said, remember what Truffaut said? When you start a film, you want to make the best film ever made. Halfway through, you want to finish the goddamn thing. Well, let's finish the goddamn thing. Not a smile, nothing. He's just looking at me. Yeah. You could do what I said. I said, no, I can't do what you said. Okay, let's go.
I think he's clashed with a lot of people, but who else is in the movie? The guy, okay, so the gentleman playing Donald's boyfriend, I can't remember his name. It's Stuart something. Or no, Stuart was his character on LA Law.
He was also in Radio Days.
Oh, yes.
Which I love.
Ada's favorite Woody Allen movie. So
it's the cutest one.
And the only one Seth Green is in, so it has a special distinction.
Exactly. Is he the boyfriend, or I thought he had some kind of like managerial
it seems,
job.
It does seem that way, but are they living together? I can't tell.
I don't know. The birthday party, everyone's like 90 years old singing For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. I'm like, this doesn't seem like a gay party to me.
It does seem like he would actually save the piece of cake for Tommy.
Right.
Because he brings the cake, the first piece, over to the musician. It's very important. He's like, got to go to the musician first. So, he's a caring man. I think Donald Phelps is maybe the most interesting character in the whole movie.
And there's a weird dynamic between him and Tommy. Like there's a secret we don't know about. When he's like, you're messing with the big boys. And you're
that's
like,
right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what is he talking about? Messing
they never
with the big boys.
That. So that was cut. Something happened there, but we don't know. We'll never know.
I love that stuff. Just inferences and a little bit of confusion. Yeah, maybe there was a little bit of rough trade going on.
Exactly.
Yes, because
he picked him up at the mine shaft one night.
I thought it was important to rehabilitation.
Under Donald's cream Barbra Streisand pashmina shawl outfit, there's like a full leather daddy vest and assless chaps.
That's what it is.
Every night.
He was very thin, though, so you wouldn't be able to tell that he was wearing so many layers, which he is, by the way, more layers than anyone else.
Well, that's what you have to do in New York because you never know what the weather's going to be. So we all wear layers and, you strip on, put it back on, take it off, put it back on, depending on what the day is. Yeah. You could have rain, you could have sunshine, you could have snow. You never know.
You never know. And also, when you have a scarf collection like that, you got to use it.
I mean, the clothes are pretty great, like her clothes and his clothes.
They're all amazing. And I think on this viewing, I really noticed that even Tommy's clothing is custom made for the film because of the purple and brown.
He's a detective, supposedly, but he's got like big bell bottoms on him. Like, that's not very practical for running if you have like giant flaps in the wind.
It'd be great if there was an outtake of Tommy Lee jumping over the fence. Tommy, don't wham. Yeah.
It's funny in the commentary too about Donald's birthday party. Irvin Kirshner like pats himself on the back saying, it was a gay party, but I wanted to show that gay people are real human beings and not fags. And I was like, oh, okay.
You had me there, Irvin. You were doing so well. And then
use the F word.
Yeah. Well, there's a clip I have. This is a great reason to use it. Elton John, 1982, when the USA was not really the most friendly environment for homosexuals.
Did you have problems with this football club in terms of your image with not only the whole sort of flamboyant rock star thing, but with that whole coming out saying bisexuality,
no, not at all.
Blah, blah.
No, they've accepted it totally. I thought I'd have a lot of resistance to that, but I haven't. And obviously people gossip behind my back, and you have to expect that because we all gossip behind each other's backs, or we all like to gossip. But quite honestly, the people in soccer in England have treated me with the utmost respect. And I think British people, especially the British public, like you to be upfront with them. I can't stand, I'm glad I got it off my chest.
Well, why do you think it was made such a big deal? I mean,
it didn't make such a big deal. I mean, it didn't hit England until 2 years after the Cliff Jar thing in Rolling Stone, And the English people didn't make it into a big deal. I think it affected me far more popularity-wise here, with the Midwest, and this country's far more religious than England. I think, as far as maniacal religion goes, I call it. And I can understand it's not everyone's cup of tea as well. I just had to go, please or offend. That's how I am. If you don't understand it, fair enough. I can understand why, but I'm not going to go around flaunting it and appearing on every talk show and being, a faggot about it, because I can't stand faggots.
And there was that whole wave of stand-up comedy where that was the
AIDS jokes galore.
Yeah,
the Andrew Dice Clays of the world, Eddie Murphy.
Who, he later apologized, and I can still find that stuff funny as hair-raising and.
we also are from the generation where we heard those words a lot.
Well, yeah.
Where these kids never hear it, so it's shocking to them.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
We'd
true.
walk down the street and people would say these words at us.
And also, I'm a big believer in like, well, that was that era, and while it's not cool, it's good to remember that existed.
I don't believe in erasing history.
I don't either.
You know, like censoring, like the Gone with the Wind and all this stuff. Like
French Connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Disney
you cannot,
clipped out
you cannot
the N-word.
censor
Yeah.
things because it's a time and a place, and we are more enlightened now, and it shows how far we've come.
And also in narrative films, for instance, in French Connection, that is an establishing moment. It is telling you everything you need to know about Popeye Doyle. He's not a good guy.
Right.
And when that's nipped out, you're like, what? You won't get the same thing. You won't know why Roy Scheider is so upset at him for saying whatever he said.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that when people say, oh, that movie's homophobic. And I'm like, what do you mean? With the younger folks, especially. I remember someone on Facebook saying that Cruising and Boys in the Band were homophobic because they were made by a straight director. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, eventually it got to, well, I haven't seen them. And I said, see, you have no leg to stand on.
Right, exactly.
You can't talk about them. And also, they're not homophobic. As a matter of fact, Cruising and Can't Stop the Music made at the same time in New York. So occasionally the protesters would get the wrong movie. Can't Stop the Music is way more homophobic than Cruising because Cruising is an accurate depiction of the milieu.
Exactly. It's a whole scene. I mean, Can't Stop the Music was directed by a lesbian, right?
Well,
Nancy Walker was
sort of. Bill Butler, the cameraman on Grease, was Alan Carr's like favorite go-to guy. He was the straight guy, so he treated him better than the gay people on the set. You know, that kind of thing. He got a point of profit participation on Grease, whereas the director Randall Kleiser did not.
I've met Randall Kleiser through John Waters. He's a nice guy.
He seems like a great guy. There's a really terrific interview on the DGA archives that you might enjoy.
I also enjoy his Pee Wee Herman movie.
Oh, that's right. Big Top Pee Wee.
Big Top Pee Wee and Summer Lovers, which is quite beautiful.
I've never seen Summer Lovers. I have the soundtrack.
Sexy.
That sounds a little too racy for me. As you can tell, I like kind of more demure, more mindful material.
Exactly.
Yes. But back to the movie we're ostensibly talking about. But I feel like it all...
You're going to have quite an edit.
No. All this is going in. Discursive is the thing with this. But I want to make sure that for folks who haven't seen it, who are still listening or watching, either one.
If you're awake, if you're still awake.
Yes, well, that's inevitable. That's inevitable. We're too peppy. We're too full of life to not have that happen. So plot-wise, we left off where she's having these visions. Now, obviously, she has photo shoots. Then she has more visions. But there's a few other beats that happen. The moment you were referring to, there's a bit of a kerfuffle going on in the car. And the previously seemingly harmonious family of the agent, who cares quite a bit. This is Donald Phelps, folks. Cares quite a bit about Laura and seemingly Tommy.
And that's his 25% or whatever he's getting, so of course he would.
Exactly. And he might be manipulative, or maybe he just cares, or maybe both. Back to him being a fascinating character and what Irvin said, while he did not say it in the most opportune language.
Or up-to-date, the nomenclature we prefer now.
Yes, exactly. He actually did a great job, and I really appreciate the way that he sketches out this character.
Yeah.
It's never mentioned like, well, that gay guy or anything like that. Right. He is just a character in the film. Yeah. It's not, I don't know if this movie is cited in Celluloid Closet.
I don't think so.
Because there's a lot of films from that era that, and a little earlier, like Freebie and the Bean, et cetera, that are pointed at as being problematic.
Yeah.
But this certainly isn't.
I mean, it shows successful gay people working, the hair and makeup team, the model, what's his name?
John.
The beautiful black guy that...
yes. You know the name.
Now it's gone. I said it and it's gone.
Well, the thing is, the rule is with the Natalo star, a Euro star.
Exactly, yeah.
You say it once and then just let it be. You know.
So it's all work that shows them all being successful and professional and rich. So,
very
representation
rich.
Is good.
Yes, it is.
And there's no slurs spoken in the movie either. It's just in the DVD commentary. But
he saved it for that.
Exactly.
Now, I didn't realize there was a commentary
on the new Blu-ray.
See, that's the thing. I got to
Kino
get
Lorber
that
Blu-ray. Yeah, it's good.
Bless Kino Lorber.
Yeah,
fantastic stuff. Big sale on them right now.
Nice.
So I'm gonna have to check that out for that. So it's good to know Visions is on that because I had seen something. I was like, wait, there's a mini.
It's also
doc?
on YouTube somewhere.
Okay. So see, you outpaced me in the research, and I have to commend you for that.
It's a movie I love.
Yes, clearly. Yeah. Well, your Instagram handle proves that, bears that out. So then there's that stuff going on. And so him and Tommy have a squabble and he's messing with the big boys. And then the birthday party, they have another little tete-a-tete where at the door he says he's to save him a piece of cake. And Tommy says,
what does he say? I forget.
Oh, you're a piece of cake.
That seems a bit flirty.
It's flirty, aggressive. Yeah, it would speak to the rough trade.
I mean, cake is for those not in the know, your ass can be cake.
Yes, yes, that's right. Tommy's a hungry boy. Yeah. The model that's in the pool, the male model, do you know anything about him?
He's just an actor. I looked at him up. He didn't really have much of a career. He wasn't like a real model, I don't think. Whereas most of the women were real models.
Right, as was Darlanne Fluegel. Right,
yeah.
I don't know if we
She started out as a model
before.
and then went into acting like full time.
Yeah, and she's in Michael Mann's Crime Story, that's TV series as well.
Yep. And she's in something with De Niro, Once Upon a Time in America.
Oh, wow.
She plays his girlfriend.
I have to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a film.
Yeah.
And I saw it way too young.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Body Double before I saw that, but still Once Upon a Time in America is a different kind of,
it's good.
I saw it too young kind of thing. Actually, there's a film over there on video disc that I'll have to send you a copy of called Exposed. So it's Nastasia Kinski and Rudolf Nureyev. Right, amazing combo. And Harvey Keitel in a film about models getting involved in international intrigue.
Amazing.
And
I
terrorism.
mean, they do travel a lot.
That's the thing. And interestingly, this is a premise that is seen in Glamorama, the Bret Easton Ellis book as well, which I really wish would be made into a film.
I think it was optioned by somebody.
I think it would be great as a limited series because the book is so vast.
Yeah.
And I think out of the books of his that I read, I mean, I love American Psycho, but I never want to read it again. I loved Glamorama.
American Psycho, the book had a lot of humor. It was more grotesque than the movie, but it was way funnier. It was a parody of Yuppies, right? Like
it was, but there's certain passages in it that were
so
just
gross.
like, oh God, it's like you know,
with like the gerbils or hamsters or
there's
rats.
a cooking sequence that is just god awful, and it goes on for a very, very long time, longer than the Huey Lewis passages. Huh. I love those too because I love those records. Well, 4 maybe not so much.
That's sort of a fashion horror movie too.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to say yes.
American Psycho.
Absolutely,
it's a male fashion horror movie.
It especially and best typified by the card, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the cards and all that.
And in the book, there's a lot, but people are like this motherfucker. Look at this raised type in this, the sans serif. He's like going on and on about how he's so mad, right?
I love that.
He kills people because he wants their overnight bag, and you know, it's pretty.
Is there a better reason though? I mean, if you're going to get into that line of business. And also the clear Macs, those, you know, that's a statement.
It is because you can see the clothes underneath.
Exactly. Other fashion films, there's one that's not good, but it's called Fashion Crimes, and it's worth watching the first 5 minutes of. You might be able to find it on some streamer. Not very good, but good.
One of my favorite fashion movies is not a horror movie. It's called Portfolio, and it was made as a documentary about models in the 80s. Came out in 83.
Yeah.
And it's got like Polina Poroskova, Carol Alt, all these girls talking about their lives. And then they were putting it together like, we need more here. So they have a fictional model girl who's not like a model at all. And it's her going on go-sees with these actual real models. And there's a sequence with Stephen Meisel photographing all these girls. And he's stopped distribution of the movie because he's so embarrassed by it. But I happen to have a bootleg copy of it. If anyone ever wants me to come curate that movie for them, I'll play it for you.
Wonderful.
We might get sued, but
can we trade Exposed for that?
Sure,
I know it's not a fair trade because this is not available anywhere.
It's so crazy, this movie.
Have you ever seen Beautiful Baby Beautiful?
Mm-mm.
Okay, HBO did this documentary, 1980. Janice Dickinson, Rene Russo. I can't remember.
It's a documentary?
Yeah. It's an hour-long documentary, 10-minute segments on each person, and I got it because I've been looking for it for ages, right? Then I found this seller on eBay who had lots of 10 or like Betamax in lots of 10.
I love that you still have like all your video cassettes and laser discs. I wish I had the space for all that stuff.
Well, there's a lot of cabinets in this place.
Okay.
The storage is unreal.
That's great.
Because do you think there's a lot out here? I could show you some things. Actually, behind here, there's another one of those record cases.
The sofa is filled with
it is
video cassettes.
Absolutely. The ottoman loaded underneath. You zip it and boom. But I didn't actually get the beta tape because this was one auction that just kept going up in price. And it was all rare stuff like the Chevy Chase special from 1976, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So I saw Beautiful Baby Beautiful listed and I go, oh my God. And so the prices keep going up. So I wrote the seller and I said, is there any possible way you could make a copy of this. I'll pay you. And he goes, oh, no, it's cool. All those have been transferred already. Would you like a list? Yes, please.
Oh,
so I got
wow.
it for about $5.
Amazing.
In addition to other things like David Sheehan in Hollywood, another HBO thing. It's great. I'll send it to you. When HBO Max first came on in the scene, I was hopeful because they said every one of the documentaries, all of this stuff, no.
They've barely updated it. It's a lot of like bad like murder mystery shows. It's all like ID. People just watch it for the fucking murder shows. That's it, you know?
Yeah, and Hard Knocks. They have every season of it, but they don't even have like their old shows like First and 10 or Dream On or anything like that.
Or I think the Lisa Kudrow show, The Comeback's not even on there.
Are you kidding?
Or there
That's
wasn't at one point. I think we all
crazy.
protested. So I watched this movie twice this week in preparation to talk to you. And I thought I saw the supermodel Gia in there. There was this beautiful brunette girl in the second photo shoot. And I was like, is that Gia? But she's not in the credits. I thought it was her. I mean, it might still be her.
It could be.
But, she just didn't get credited and she didn't stick around long enough. But then that is also another movie I really love is Gia with Angelina Jolie, also starring Faye Dunaway.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Faye plays Wilhelmina.
Oh my God,
agent.
that's right. I have to see that again. Is that currently available? I
mean,
feel like it's not.
I have the Blu-ray. That's another one. I hope it's on HBO Max. It might not be.
It should be.
These are treasures they have in their, in their jewel case. Put that out there.
Yeah. And Sheila Nevins did so many incredible documentaries, and I don't even know if half of those are on there.
I mean, a lot of the big ones are, but there's still a ton.
Okay.
Like Cat Dancers.
Right, you were talking about that before.
Yeah, that's an amazing one. That was made for HBO.
And you were telling me that it was like Tiger King before.
I mean, it's like 15 years before Tiger King, and it's more deranged than you can even imagine.
Well, clearly people can't get enough of Tiger King because there was the
everyone loves a kitty cat.
There was the audio documentary, the film documentary, the film adaptation,
the Carol Baskin documentary, and then now Chimp Crazy, which was also batshit.
It's almost as many documentaries as been put out about the Beatles in the last 15 years. So John Carpenter, of course, was asked about what he thought of the movie, and he never really said anything bad about it, although legend has it that he says it's shit and all this. But he just said, I can't remember the last time I saw it, but the only thing I thought they screwed up was that if you're seeing someone else's vision, your vision's gone. And I thought, no, they did that. It's like a big plot.
She crashes the car like twice.
I love though that she can't see, but she's like, I've got to get to Donald.
I'm gonna crash into this brick wall and then this store full of empty boxes.
And you were talking about the filth. They shot the scene with Brad Dourif and Tommy Lee Jones in a real tenement, which is fantastic, but also it was such a tight space. They had to cram the camera against the corner and flip the viewfinder around. So they were probably just sitting there very tightly. So
I've been there making independent movies in New York City. It's,
Any titles in particular that you not enjoyed working on, but were like, well, at least it's a good movie?
I don't think any of them really were. Most of them didn't get released. I did turn down a lot of really good movies, but I'll save that for the book. I shouldn't talk shit about these.
That's okay. You and Burt Reynolds, right? Burt Reynolds with Terms of Endearment.
Yeah, I mean, all the regrets.
I know, but at least he did something quality. He did Stroker Ace.
Or it's the one you like, Rent-A-Cop.
Oh, I love Rent-A-Cop.
Rent-A-Cop.
I have the press kit. Love Rent-A-Cop.
Liza's writing her book now. Hopefully she talks about it.
Oh, wow. I hope she does an audiobook similar to Barbara's.
Oh, yeah, she better.
She better. And and I don't want her to fall off the wagon, but if she did, if it could be during the recording of it.
So it doesn't take all day.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
so it goes along at a pace that we could, not at half speed.
It's great. There's a lot of promotional TV appearances for New York that have popped up on YouTube recently. I think an entire Mike Douglas show. And, that was at the height of both her affair with Martin Scorsese. I think during the time he was married to Isabella Rossellini. So, I mean,
interesting.
Pimp hand strong there. Sure, that's probably not an acceptable thing to say now, but what are you going to do? And there's a anecdote about her and Scorsese showing up to Halston's place, knocking on the door and just saying, give us every drug you've got.
Give me every drug you have.
Yes, and of course...
I think that's Liz Taylor's story, I think.
It is. Yes, it is.
Liz Taylor was at the party, and she said that Liza just barged in and said, give me every single drug you all got.
And they did.
That's my girl.
And they did, yeah.
I mean, I'm not ashamed. I've done most of it, but, I like a bit of champagne.
Yeah.
And I used to do drugs in the 80s and 90s, but now I do them at any temperature.
See, that's good. You've evolved.
Yeah.
You've matured. Because
Exactly.
you're not so demanding about that stuff.
No,
Do
but
you have a favorite champagne?
I mean, the drier the better. You know, I like
Just like humorists.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't want too much sugary shit in your drinks because that's what makes the hangover. Everyone always
That's true.
complains about champagne gives you a hangover, but you know,
Real champagne, no.
I mean, you know, if you're buying, I'll have Cristal. Cristal's very dry. Or, you know, Piper Heidsieck is really good. But if you want a good, cheap, dry champagne, there's one at Trader Joe's. It's
Really?
Opaline. It's a pink champagne, and it's super dry, and you don't get a hangover.
And it's pink.
It's pink. I was going to bring it today, but, you know, we're sober today.
Well, and I feel bad about that. I really
it's
wanted
fine.
to encourage
I'm
you to
driving
enjoy.
anyway.
Well, you know, that's right. Yeah, see, this is the sensible.
Right, exactly. This is me in my old age. I'm not snorting things off the sidewalk anymore.
And the carpet's too rough.
Exactly. Oh, God.
Yeah.
That was always the worst. Like if somebody spilled cocaine on a shag carpet, you're fucked.
Forget about it. Go home, everyone.
You
or call
would
the
see
guy.
people like on their face in the
Richard
road.
Pryoring it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
hoovering it up.
Yes. Jojo
Just
dancing it.
just call me Dyson because I'm gonna get it all.
Oh, Bill Boggs, New York staple.
Badly dubbed Bill Boggs. He's so dubbed. He was like my local news anchor in New York.
I became aware of him through YouTube clips.
Right.
Amazing
Yeah.
interviews.
He had a talk show. He had
Live at 5?
5
Was he
o'clock
on
Live
that?
at 5.
Yeah.
He was the Live at 5 guy. But that's not his voice in the movie.
I was wondering
It's
about
overdubbed
that.
by like Scatman Crothers or someone with a really deep voice. James Earl Jones. I'm like, that's not Bill Boggs.
It is a terrible
It's a bad dub.
I don't know how maybe they're just like, it doesn't matter. No one knows
No one
him
cares.
outta
They're
here.
all high.
Yeah. Yeah. You
We
know what?
have them. We got titties. Titties every few scenes. There's titties.
Now, maybe there's not that many plot points to discuss because it's basically like there's a killing, then there's wondering about the killing, who could it be, questionings about the killing,
Hair being done.
hair being done, a lot
Lots
of
of
hair
hair
being
being
done, very nicely. And also, look, I find Darlanne Fluegel to be rather attractive, as
Adorable.
all the ladies are.
Yeah, they're all
and
beautiful. Lisa Taylor.
Taylor,
Lisa Taylor is her name. She retired and moved to California. She lives here now.
Oh.
Darlanne Fluegel unfortunately died of early onset Alzheimer's disease, which is very sad.
It is sad. And I think the only public appearance of hers that I know of, it's on YouTube. There's a To Live and Die in LA Q&A. It's like 6 parts or something, shot on like a shoe. I don't know what it was shot on, but it was right before the
video
phones got
quality
good.
degrades quickly back then.
Yeah, well, it's true. But you'll be hearing some of it on the To Live and Die in LA Movie
Excellent.
Club. Oh, John Carpenter also said, outside of the one thing that he got totally wrong about it, he felt that there shouldn't have been handheld photography, that it should have been used. It should have been used. Forgive me. He felt that it shouldn't have been handheld photography for the killer vision scenes, but that it should have been a Panaglide, aka, well, Panaglide was Panavision's ripoff of the Steadicam. It would look like Blowout, the beginning of Blowout.
I guess so, yeah.
But I think the handheld works great.
That's good. Because he's chasing after somebody.
He is.
And that gives you like the feeling of somebody running.
And the discoloration in that is really great.
Yeah.
And I wonder how they did that back then. I don't know much about photochemical processing.
They had a lens that you would put on it that was thicker around the outside of the lens, and that would make it just blurred and like, you know,
Okay.
make it almost like a fish's eye or something. It would give you like that weird thing. But it was like a thicker around the rim, and you would be focused in the center, and then everything around it would be a little bit off.
Okay. So, but the black and whiteness of like at least Doris at the beginning, it's like very black and white. And actually, Lulu and Michelle as well has that quality, but not all of them do. Some of them are more like sepia toned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's some
They
kind
probably just put like a
of filter.
right in front of the lens. Like
That's right. Yeah. Because people don't realize that when they say Vaseline on the lens,
We actually used to put actual Vaseline on the lens.
what was the process? How thin would the layer be?
You would have like a sheet of glass in front of the lens, and then you would just smear it on and see how it looks, and just keep trying different things that way.
Oh, that's good to know. So that makes it a little easier for me to comprehend, because
So you wouldn't have it on your actual lens.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I thought, well,
Yeah.
what kind of wizard is doing that? And then how do you remove it?
Exactly.
The other technique is stretching pantyhose, right? Over,
Right.
yeah. So
That makes
that's
it
that
soft.
gauzy look.
Mhm.
Adrian
That was the
Lyne.
Barbara Walters lens. Whenever they shot her, she always had this thing, and they said they would put a panty in front of it.
That's right. And Adrian Lyne.
Son,
used-
you have a panty on your head.
But Adrian Lyne with Foxes, he used a combination of that and dry ice
To shoot
fog.
14-year-old girls.
Yes, yes. There's a great moment out in the woods, though.
I love that movie.
It's one of the finest films,
Mhm.
and the trailer is so terrible because it misrepresents it so badly.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna do it. Maybe. You mean
We had
die?
some great
one of them's going to die?
girls coming of age movies in our generation, like
Yes.
Little Darlings and that. And,
Yeah.
what was that one? There was one in New York, Best Friends or something.
Oh my God,
It was
yes.
very
Wait.
Joel Micklin-Silver movie, right? Is that
Was
who
it-
directed that?
Oh, what is the name of that? Because Best Friends is also the name of a
That's
Burt
a Goldie Hawn
Reynolds-
movie.
What's
That's
that?
the one. That's a Goldie Hawn and
Yes, Burt
someone-
Reynolds. And
What's the one
I
I'm
have the
thinking
press
of,
kit
though?
for that. By
It's
the
like
way,
young
too.
girls, like 12-year-old girls.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
know.
cute.
Rich girls? No, it's.
Who is that?
I'm gonna look that up.
I think it's Friends. I don't remember who directed it. I think. Look up Joel Micklin-Silver. Is it her?
Let's see.
She also did Crossing Delancey, which is one of my favorite New York movies too.
I have to see that again. She also did a Boston film as well, Between the Lines, which
is that where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from
Mhm.
Boston area. And so in the movie, the paper they're talking about, I can't remember the name of it, was a real paper, and all the things were real. I actually know someone who worked on the crew for it.
Nice.
Yeah, and then of course, and Joe Micklin-Silver worked a lot with Griffin Dunn.
I love him. After Hours is my favorite Martin Scorsese movie.
It is a fantastic
There's nothing better than that.
movie.
And I used to live where they shot the whole thing. It's like in Little Italy area. That's where I lived for.
Oh, wow.
My last apartment was there for 11 years.
I couldn't find that under Micklin-Silver, but I know the one you're talking
You know what I'm
about.
talking about? It's like these two cute girls, and like one's rich and one's like a working class Italian girl.
Yes, yeah. It's
If
kind
you're
of
out
like,
there, tell us what it is. We don't remember.
and it's not Times Square, but I think Trini Alvarado is in that one you're talking
Trini
about.
Alvarado's in Times Square.
No,
Yeah.
but isn't she in the
I don't
other
think
one?
she's in it,
Okay,
no.
well, it's up to the audience
I'll
to
figure it out
enlighten
tonight.
us.
At
Yeah,
4 a.m, I'm going to call you.
that's okay. I've done this before where I put a thing underneath. I couldn't remember someone's name, and then I had to put the Chiron on the lower third. So, okay, now let's talk about just favorite sequences. Because again, basically the plot goes, there's a murder, there's a photo shoot, there's a murder. But then most of the time her visions come during the photo shoot, which is also irritating interruption into your workday. But it does allow for a mise en scène that is quite appealing. So that goes on until all of the suspects are taken care of. And by this point, I think everyone has. You forget about Michael, Raul Julia's character, because he's told to go away. He's given $50 and a glass of perfume.
And he's the red herring that we think is possibly the murderer, but you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when he pops up at the end, we do see Tommy Lee Jones and him,
Mhm.
right? And then suddenly the killer's vision is coming through. And that's, I think, the first time you think, oh my God, it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
Do you remember if you got faked out at the end? Because before he throws the chair through the window, or rather, when he throws the chair through the window, it almost serves as oh, no, it's not him in the elevator because he couldn't get in through that way. He had to get in this way.
Right.
Forgetting that he could have been the guy at the door. Although for him to get around to the window, it's impressive. That's a very quick jaunt.
Yeah, that's like superhero stuff. But like, I think I might be wrong, but I think you do see him overpowering Raul Julia in the elevator.
You do.
For like a second. So then you're like, okay, we know who it is.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. And
It's like a very quick shot like that.
and you don't see Michael terrified any other time.
No.
That fight that they have in the apartment is so grisly. And I like how they
With Faye and Raul.
with Faye,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's another thing I love about it, the movie, in terms of its accuracy, is the way that he's a failed writer, and he says at the end of the fight, like, "Oh, you had suddenly the fashion darling of the I can't remember the chic."
You never left your darkroom.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Where was I? I needed things, which is funny because he's a total leech,
Right.
and he's clearly not writing anything. He's one of those guys that
I'm working on my screenplay like 50 years later. This whole town.
I told someone who was actually making a movie in Boston, I did a voiceover for them, and they were like, it's a low budget. I said, you don't have to pay me. I said, here's the thing. You're making something. You're 21 and you're making something. I said,
Bravo.
do you know how many people I know out here who've been talking about their screenplay? They don't even identify it by name
Right.
for years.
What's it about?
Well, it's
hard to say. I haven't written a word yet.
well, it's a buddy movie. Even if I heard that, I go, well, at least it's something. At least it's
Right.
a buddy movie. We need more of those. Yeah, I think. Road pictures. I always want road pictures between like certain people who kind of like are similar, or kind of like those, not the Hope and Crosby pictures, but just they got to get somewhere, and they're two different types of people,
Mhm.
or they're two actors that look like brothers, and I'd like to have them play some kind of family situation. If I could
Thelma
remember,
and Louise is a good one.
Which
or
one?
Thelma and Louise.
there you go.
That's a good road
That's
picture.
a good one. It's got a nice upbeat ending.
One thing I want to say about this movie also is like people always say that, Faye was in the greatest movies of the 60s and 70s, like the New Hollywood thing. Also a Criterion thing right now, New Hollywood. But, she did Bonnie and Clyde, Chinatown, Network. I find Network a little overrated.
I love that.
I like it.
I love that.
It's overrated.
No,
to me.
I love it because you never hear anyone say that.
It's good, but
Yeah.
it's like, to me, I love the more over the top and operatic stuff. And they always chart her decline with The Eyes of Laura Mars and then Mommy Dearest. But those are two masterpieces that are still
I
being
agree.
watched, and people are endlessly fascinated by those movies.
They're the ones that people go to all
Right.
the time. Like, I love Network, but you don't think of it as a Faye Dunaway film.
No.
Even though she is incredible in
Right.
it, and the type of person that she's playing is very specific, again, very real. And I know Patty Chayefsky is lauded as a genius. I love Altered States, but I also love Ken Russell, so I don't
Right.
know the trade-off
Ken made
there.
that bizarre and wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing.
And Patty fought him every step of the way until Ken barred him from the set.
Right.
And I didn't like The Hospital. So I'm like, okay, based on this, maybe it's the performances, maybe it's Maybelline, who knows?
Right, exactly. But even at her worst, Faye is always fascinating to look at, and she's a great actress.
What happened after Mommy Dearest? I know that legendarily, her career, she said, was sunk. Or people.
I mean, I
said
read
that
all
about
the
her.
books about it. There was a new book this year called like Love or XO Mommy Dearest. I forget the author, but very great. And then Retanya Alda, who played Carol Ann, did her Mommy Dearest Diaries, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And they all alleged that, the diva behavior, that she was doing drugs and that she was fighting with everyone and blah, blah, blah. But like, if you watch it, it's like, it is like an opera performance. It's like, she is on a whole other level. Everyone else is boring. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry you think she's over the top. Maybe the other actors were just boring.
Yeah, when
And
people say people are over the top, I mean, yeah, Ben Gazzara in Roadhouse, over the top. I love it. I can't get
Jack
enough
Nicholson's always Jack Nicholson. He's never not Jack Nicholson.
of it. Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I love that. And
Yeah.
millions of other
That's your
people
brand.
do.
You're a movie star. That's how you become a star, as we know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
then she can do something like Barfly, which is a very beautiful movie.
she's incredible
Like-
in that movie.
That is every sad alcoholic you've ever met in a bar. She's unbelievable as Wanda. And she deserved an Oscar for that performance, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think there was that weird bias against it because it was a canon picture and also because it was about a reprobate.
Also, there's rumors that Sean Penn was supposed to play it, and then they got into a fight
Oh, really?
about it. Because
Wow.
he wanted Dennis Hopper to direct it or something. I forget the whole story.
There's a very funny clip going around the socials of Don Johnson talking about the experience of working on The Hot Spot with Dennis Hopper as director. And he said, well, Dennis, he was sober, in quotes for those just listening.
It's called
He said-
California Sober.
Well, no, he said he wasn't drinking, but he was basically like a dry drunk.
Mhm.
And
Powdered
yeah, exactly.
powdered alcohol.
So that was interesting.
He had the Hollywood flu the next day.
She's in Towering Inferno. I forgot about Four Musketeers. I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that in a long time, but I remember it being fun. Towering Inferno is okay. It's just, run of the mill. I don't really love Steve McQueen either.
Oh, well, and they're paired together in The Getaway as well, which another one I have to see.
And Thomas Crown Affair.
Oh, wait, are they in The Getaway or is that Ally McGraw? I'm
Ally
mixing
McGraw.
them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to see that as well. The original. I haven't
Thomas
seen.
Crown Affair is a beautiful movie.
I have to see that.
The clothes are unbelievable, but Faye's, amazing in that. She's the insurance adjuster. She's really good.
One of the first movies I may have seen her in was The Champ. Very little I saw that. Is that a good movie? I don't know.
I haven't
can't
seen
remember.
it since, and I won't because those two have become such insane Trumpers, John Voight and Ricky Schroeder.
Oh yeah, that's
So,
right. Yeah,
I'm done with
I
them.
don't need those two lunatics.
That's a boxing movie. Funnily enough, Barbra Streisand quit this movie we're talking about. Barbra Streisand quit being in The Eyes of Laura Mars to make the main event. Was that a good career choice? I don't know.
We're not sure. It did spawn a terrific
One good song.
one good song, and then the other songs, a lot of them, Mikalski and Oosterveen. John Peters had something for them. He was like, these kids are going somewhere. Where they're going, I don't know if folks can see. I'll just cut the picture in.
Put it in.
You can see that,
I
right?
can say yes.
So this
I
guy
love
looks
a bit
like
of neon.
Elias Koteas, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I wish it was him, and he just changed his name. He's like, if I make it really ethnic, no one's going to know that I was Mikalski.
So yeah, that around all the same time, all these boxing movies of all these women. And it was this time where like Faye, Jane Fonda, Barbra Streisand were all like fighting for the same roles,
Hmm. I wish there was a Jane Fonda boxing picture. That would have been terrific.
She was too busy working out, doing
Yeah,
her
that's
aerobics.
true. Funding, what's that guy's name? Tom Hayden's
Tom Hayden.
and
Right?
stuff. I was shocked when I found out that the bulk of the proceeds for that tape went to his political endeavors. I mean, hey,
And 9 to 5 too.
that's true. That's true. The
When she
commentary,
loves a man, she loves a man.
that's
Jane.
true. That commentary track on 9 to 5 is full of delights.
Yep.
I'll send you the movie club on that one.
Oh, please.
Supergirl, she's phenomenal in that.
I mean, that's a camp performance. It's like, but like amazing.
And of course, she legendarily did not want to discuss Mommy Dearest in interviews.
That's my one thing. I wish that she would just own up to it. Like the documentary, there's a very small bit on it, but like she should have just, owned up to it. It was amazing. Like, yes, maybe it was over the top, but it's special.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about it still.
Right. And why does everyone still want to talk about it? And also the fact that she did not want to talk about it at this stage, that would be interesting. Why didn't you want to talk about it? Why did you feel that way?
Right.
That voicemail.
Well, it's because she was nominated for the very first Razzie ever.
Oh, right.
So it's like, she called it like a psychic scar. Like she was just being abused nonstop over this movie.
That's true. And also by Hollywood insiders as well, who thought it was heresy for her to basically destroy the image of Joan Crawford. But really, Joan did that.
Yeah.
It was Joan's work.
I saw Trog. I love it, but come on.
Now, back to the sequences. The opening sequence is one of my favorites in any, fashion movie. But a 70s, disco-y. Yeah, but also everything about it. The way that Bill Boggs is there. Granted, he's dubbed.
Oh, that's not the opening. That's after the opening when they go to
Forgive me.
her book party.
You're very right.
Her art show and book party.
Oh, okay, so let's talk about the opening.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah.
The eyes in the promotional material that came out beforehand. Yes. Oh, look at that. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. And the posters for that slowly revealed the face.
Exactly. It was like over the course of a few months, the eyes would come out of the poster. Very elegant. My friend has an old poster from the 70s from a lobby that lights up. It's like beautiful in his house, and I want to steal it.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. I've seen a picture of it. Oh, that's gorgeous.
And here's Barbara with her afro that John Peters did.
Yep.
I actually have a bad thrift store painting of that.
And down in the corner there is Mikulski and Oosterveen.
Mm-hmm.
I think this podcast wins the award for Mikulski and Oosterveen mentions.
Oh my God. Are they paying you? Are you on the payroll?
Well, yeah, they can't afford much right now, but yeah.
There's some of the shots of the fashion shoots.
Fabulous. Again, the taupe, the purple. So Tommy's...
never a big fan of taupe and beige.
But in this
Not
film,
bold enough.
the dusty rose offsets it. I love the dusty rose, as you can
That's
tell.
their pop of color.
Yes, exactly. Again, when the pop of color is a muted dusty rose, you're in for something good. But even Tommy's jacket, I noticed, it's that strange brown purple.
Mm-hmm.
And Bert's stuff, what's that?
Puce.
Is that what that is?
I think, right?
Dark puce, maybe?
Puce is a dirty purple. A dirple.
Dirty purple? I mean,
Dirty
puce.
Purple. That sounds like a Prince song.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm surprised he never had a song called Puce. So that whole scene, the camera work is stunning in that. There's all these swooping dolly shots.
Yeah, it's like around this room, a big warehouse. Like, I don't know how they did all that. It was really beautifully done.
I don't either. And
going into people's conversations, like, ew, disgusting.
I love the one at the bar. This great. I also love the reporters hounding her. So when she walks into that warehouse, they're appearing out of nothing, out of a black void. And then the titles show up. And I just thought, this is masterful. Then after watching that clip with Irvin Kirshner, I thought, this guy really, he's got something.
He had a visual style for sure.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's the darkest one. It's so much exposition, so much story comes out in it, but it feels effortless and beautiful.
And a bit of trivia that I didn't know until watching this extended DGA interview, and it's probably well known to all Star Wars freaks. I haven't seen the films in like 20, 30 years. When Darth Vader says, "Luke, I am your father," they had to keep it secret. So it wasn't in the script. They had some other speech. And on the day of the shoot, the only people knowing that would be in the film later would be Irvin, maybe obviously George, and Mark Hamill. And also no one could hear anything because all the fans going on.
Right.
I wonder what production sound was like on this film. I wonder if the whole thing was... No. So most of the film is dubbed, right? But very discreetly, except for Bill Boggs. Except for in the car. Very smartly, they use production sound in the scene with Tommy and Laura.
I mean, there's a lot of street
Donald.
noise. It's hard when you're shooting in New York. It's a big pain in the ass when
no, absolutely,
everyone's honking and screaming and
no. And later when Neville and Laura are in the car in that really amazingly customized car with no rear view mirror, hallmark of films. That's dubbed, but they at least do this muted sound, so you feel like they're in a car.
Like a Foley artist, like toned it down.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like that attention to detail. Now, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about other favorite sequences for you. I know we talked about the photo shoot.
I mean, I do love like the reveal of her witnessing the murder, and then the woman gets stabbed in the eyes, and then Laura's in bed and her eyes open, like, you know, the very first gigantic eye close up. And then she wakes up in this like ridiculous, almost like a Joan Crawford bedroom, this like gigantic round bedroom with the beautiful mirrors, and then it pulls out and you see the revolting carpet. And then
which I kind of love, and especially because it's the 70s, I always think, wow, what must that have smelt like? Because the carpet just sucks
a dumpster
smoke
Red
in.
Lobster. It's probably mainly pubic hair.
Yeah.
But then she goes into her like workroom and she's playing with the world's largest pair of scissors you've ever seen. It's like they're like 4 foot high scissors. She's just spinning around these shiny scissors, and you're like, oh, is she the killer?
Well, I know you do wonder that because the first scene
is scissors stabbing something,
and there is a layout of a bunch of photos and a book that kind of look like that. It does actually bring up the question now: how did Tommy Lee Jones get that advanced copy of the book?
It just maybe, you know, the publicist sent it to him. You know, who knows?
Well, they want to keep the police.
He had a secret fashion career that we don't know about.
That's true. Well, as his other personality. The thing is, he couldn't book the gigs because skin problems.
Yeah. Nobody wants a makeup artist that has skin like that.
No.
Is he still alive? Is he going to come for us?
Maybe he'll be like maybe he'll react in the manner he did to this couple on Quora who said that he was bleeding in an airport. He had a cut on his face and he had like some kind of cloth up to it. And they went over and they said, "Hey, do you need help with anything? Can we, assist you?" And he goes, "Fuck off." So apparently William Friedkin got along beautifully with him. So
he was a salty dog too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love him.
Oh, he's one of my favorites. His Q&As are the greatest.
He was always a good interview. Yeah.
I got to speak to him. I came this close to getting an interview with him, but it just never quite happened. I just want to check Irvin Kirshner's filmography because a couple things jumped out at me as being surprising. So after Up the Sandbox, he did a really bad film with Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland, their first time teaming up again, or maybe their only time teaming up again after MASH. And the film is called Spies, but stylized like S*, P*, or asterisk, S,
Kind of like MASH?
Exactly. Yeah, kind of like setting yourself up for difficulty. Right. But I saw it years ago on cable, and I thought, this is not a film for me.
He always does like these sequels. It's like he gets the sloppy seconds of other people.
Like the return
Irvin
of a man,
sloppy seconds.
The return of a man called Horace.
Right.
And he did a couple.
That movie grossed me out.
I never saw it.
The guy is hung up by his nipples.
Oh God, that's right. Hooks. It's Richard Harris.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. MacArthur Park. Okay, that's right. Other sequels, Never Say Never Again, which is a good watch. It's not a good film. It's a fun time. It is your favorite?
Not my favorite.
Okay.
Live and Let Die is my favorite Bond.
That's the best because of the theme song.
Yeah.
What can you do?
And the setting and Yaphet Kotto, Jane Seymour, who's become a friend of mine, living out here in La La Land.
So any other set pieces? I think we covered that. Any other words? I feel like we don't want to leave anything
It's very
out.
Underrated.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It needs to be seen by more people. It should be a Criterion disc edition too. That'd be great.
It would be good.
You know,
it'd be nice if there was interviews. Now maybe there are in Visions. I don't know. With Brad Dourif, with Tommy Lee.
No, it's just all Faye, and she looks great in it, and she seems to have a grasp on what the story's about. So if you're wondering, look at this very short documentary called Visions. It's on the DVD and on YouTube.
I'm going to look at it right after we finish. I'm sure right after, in the history of tradition of Movie Club, right after we stop taping, I'm going to find the article that I was looking for. So to that, there is precious little on the internet of interviews or any kind of junket material from this film, which I find kind of bizarre.
I mean, they probably just put it out without a lot of fanfare.
That's, I think, what happened because the Bobby Wygant archive, it has everything. That's actually where my press kits are from.
I love her.
And Eric Clapp from Cinema Force is the guardian of that galaxy. Amazing. Yeah, and he sent me a whole bunch of the stuff, the Xanadu press kit, the Cruising press kit.
Amazing.
And coming soon, To Live and Die in L.A. brisket, as they call them in the biz.
Briskets.
The brisket. Yeah, it's a brisket. It's Friedkin seasoning. So, yeah, and that's pretty much it. He did Irvin Kirshner is an actor in The Last Temptation of Christ. So
didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you like comedies, right? So it's good. David Bowie plays Pontius Pilate.
I know. I think I've seen clips of it. I was raised Catholic and altar boy and all that stuff, so I don't need to live it all the time.
I understand.
I've got some traumatic memories there. Back when I was in school, when I was a little boy, the nuns said, over Jesus it says INRI. What does that mean? And I was like 8, and I said, I'm nailed right in. And then they slapped me. And it was all downhill from there.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. It was fun. I love talking about movies I love.
Well, we'll have to do it
Everyone
again
else
sometime.
is sick of me talking about it, so now it can be done. It's on tape for posterity, and I don't have to talk about it all the time.
Well, they might be sick of me going, no, wait, is there anything else? Is there something else? But and if there is, I'll just cut it in later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can badly dub some other dialogue for you.
Well,
like
that's what I'm
Bill
going to do.
Boggs.
I'm going to kind of blur. Yeah, just if you say, just do it like 30 seconds of watermelon bubblegum. Yeah. Yeah. Little watermelon bubblegum never hurt anyone, right? Well, cheers. Thank you again,
Thanks
Greg.
a lot. Hi, Faye.
Yes, hello, Faye.
We love you.